Hey guys, it's Andre from High Performance Academy. Welcome along to today's webinar, and this time we're going to be talking about exhaust manifold back pressure or turbine inlet pressure. We'll find out what that is and why it's a parameter that you're likely to want to keep an eye on. Before we get into this though, just a bit of an update on what's been going on around over the last week. We'll get the words out in the end. And I'll start with an update on our FD RX7. Again, really close. Hopefully we might even have it actually running this week if everything goes well, so looking forward to that. I'll jump across to my laptop screen and just a quick update here. While it's not very important to the performance of the car, we do want this car to have a certain look, and we finally settled on some wheels, which is a set of Advan TC3s and an 18 by 9.5 fitment. So whoops, only got one photo there. Should have two photos there, but the back wheel actually looks surprisingly like the front wheel. You're just going to have to use your imagination, zoom out mentally, and you'll get a bit of an idea of what the whole car will look like. What we were aiming for with these wheels though was something that was relatively understated. We weren't trying to sort of have anything that was too standoutish, and they actually do really suit the car, so pretty excited about that. The other aspect is we have been waiting on the wiring harness to be finished off. This has kind of been one of the last little hurdles on this project, and as those who have been following us for a fair while will know, we unfortunately lost our wiring guy Zach around about a year ago, actually a year and a half ago now. Time flies when you're having fun. Surprisingly, it actually hasn't been that easy to get hold of a new Zach, and we have been trying really hard. We've fortunately got some pretty good leads coming into this year. Given COVID, that's been a bit of a stir up for the whole motorsport world everywhere, and we've got a few really good people, really talented people that have applied for the wiring job out of the likes of F1 and other sort of high level professional motorsports overseas. That still hasn't solved our immediate problem of getting a harness built for this car. So we actually ended up using someone we've been dealing with over in the Ukraine, Vlad, who he's got a great Instagram account. Hopefully we'll get that into the comments of this so some people can go out and follow him. Does some amazing work, and we've been sort of talking to and fro with him about actually moving over here and working for us. So I don't know, maybe consider this a bit of a trial by fire in terms of his test. I don't know where that'll lead to. At the moment, unfortunately, with the borders closed here in New Zealand, getting anyone in and out of the country, regardless of we get the best candidate in the world, has proven to be just about an impossibility. So right now, we're kind of a little bit stuck. With that all out of the way though, let's jump back to my laptop screen, and this is the harness that arrived last Friday from Vlad. An absolute work of art. So we have gone, as you can see there, with a full professional motorsport wiring harness. It's using Autosport connectors, particularly here at the bulkhead. This particular part of the harness is all for the engine itself, and the whole harness has been concentrically twisted as well. In particular, you've got sort of areas like this little T-junction as well. Everything has been sealed with these heat molded boots as well as resin, so reasonably well environmentally sealed. Now we did actually have a harness originally that was actually developed through one of our courses, and the reason we ended up straying away from pursuing that idea was that when that harness was developed, it really was developed for our professional motorsport wiring harness course. At the time, we didn't have about half of the components that we required for the FD RX7 project car. There was no fuel system, there was nothing on the exhaust side, so it was very difficult. There was a lot of guesswork taken into account as to where different breakouts would need to be, and of course when you guess, it's inevitably never going to be right. We could have resurrected it, but we decided it was easier to start afresh and actually get exactly what we wanted designed. So there's the other photo of the car. You don't need to guess anymore. That's what the whole car looks like with those Advan TC3 wheels on it. Looks like I've managed to get my photos a little bit out of order there. Now on the bench here, just something I wanted to talk about in a little bit more detail. This is obviously the cabin part of that wiring harness. We'll just get this under our overhead shot for a moment. So this is the Adaptronic modular ECU that we are going to be running. It uses is for AMP Super Seal connectors here, although we are only using 3 of them at this point. And you can see it, the AMP Super Seal doesn't really lend itself that easily to finishing it off in a proper professional motorsport harness style like has been done here. So back shells are available for those AMP Super Seal connectors, nothing particularly new there, and then a Raychem heat molded boot on the back of them basically makes them completely sealed. This part does live in the cabin, so we've got a little T-junction here and a breakout here, and this particular section is running across to the driver's footwell for the drive-by-wire pedal assembly, plus there are some other breakouts inside of that for power supplies and some communication wiring as well. This particular part here, this is the bulky connector that'll run up to a plate that's on the firewall. And then we've got the other side of that, which you already saw in that photo. So we've got that little plate just here. So this is going to be mounted up where the existing wiring grommet actually comes through the firewall. So there are a few finishing aspects to that harness. We've got Brandon making up a little bit of an adapter harness to go through to the drive-by-wire throttle body, and a few other bits and pieces in there. So it should all come together quite nicely in the end. Now, one of the aspects that is quite frustrating when you are mounting up wiring harnesses is actually attaching the harness to something securely. You obviously don't want it floating around in the engine bay or against the engine. We really want to eliminate relative movement between the different components. That's quite important. And one of the aspects here, everything is out of order, which is super handy. We'll jump across to my laptop screen. Again, using the wonders of Fusion 360 and our 3D printer, Brandon printed up this little, essentially spring-loaded mount here for a 2-pin DTM connector. This particular one is for the fluid level sensor that goes into the header tank or radiator top tank, if you like to call it that. I'll try. Good gracious, I really can't get this right. Here we go. That's how it all sits there. So it's just nice and neat way of supporting that little 2-pin DTM connector once it's all in the right spot. So a few other little finishing bits and pieces like that. We are also using a range of little alloy mounting tabs that will be epoxied onto the engine components, and these give a nice little loop that you can then run a zip tie through. And again, it's just a case of making sure that the harness is secured. It's not going to end up getting damaged, and we're avoiding or reducing the relative movement between those components as much as we can. So yeah, really exciting. We're getting to the last stretch of actually firing that up, and it has been a long time coming. So I'm pretty excited about getting that onto the dyno. And for those who have been living under a rock, one of the reasons we are doing this project car is that we have been constantly being asked for more rotary content. We haven't got a full rotary tuning worked example in our practical standalone tuning course library right now, so we want to add that, and of course to start with at least that's going to be on the Adaptronic modular. The idea with this harness as well, while it's not exactly a 5-minute job, is that this particular section of harness here can basically be rebuilt to suit different ECUs. So while we're probably going to be on the Adaptronic for the foreseeable future, in time we may switch to different ECUs, allowing us to produce more content. This will also allow us the ability to bring out more content into our members webinars, like we're about to jump into, on some of those idiosyncrasies and rotary specific concepts such as leading and trailing split for the timing, staged injection, and numerous other aspects. So again, that will happen over probably the next few months as we have time to add them in. Now the other thing that we have been working on, of course, our Toyota 86 race car. We've got still a few months before we are back into racing, but time moves pretty quickly in the world of motorsport, and we wanted to be as close as possible to being ready. So Brandon's been working pretty hard on that car. We've talked already about the upgrade to the rear brakes. One of the other upgrades we wanted to make was to the fuel system. I've talked about this in the past, but just to sort of go into it in a bit more detail, the car at the moment runs the factory fuel tank, which is around about 50 litres. It's a saddle tank, pretty normal. It sits just behind the the driver's and passenger's seat, or underneath the rear seats, if you could call them that. I wouldn't really want to be sitting there for any length of time, but of course, because it sits in that location, you've got a drive shaft running through the middle of it, so it is a saddle tank where there is about half of the tank on each side of the drive shaft. That's not really a big deal for a production road car. There's a siphon system that basically draws fuel across from the right hand side of the tank across to the left hand side, which is where the surge tank and fuel pump are. Then of course it's pumped through to the engine. Now, we found pretty early on in the piece that doesn't work too well on a racetrack, and you're going to end up finding you've got fuel surge from about half a tank and below. So we really only had about 25 litres of usable fuel. Pretty hopeless. One of the solutions, well, there's been a long-winded list of solutions, but what we've finally sort of hit on is we're using a radium in-tank fuel pump hanger and surge tank setup, and then that pumps to an external radium fuel surge tank which runs twin pumps, and that supplies the engine. That works pretty well. That'll allow us to run down to about 3 or 4 litres of fuel left in the tank before we start getting to the same problem with surge. The bigger issue though is that this year we're looking at the potential of stepping up to running in the 3-hour endurance race, and I know this is an excellent idea given that if you've followed our racing so far, you'll be well aware that we struggle to get to the end of a 1-hour race. So obviously absolute genius. If you can't finish a 1-hour race, solution, step up to a 3-hour race. We'll forget about that though and just assume that for the following seasons we're going to have absolutely perfect reliability. Obviously. The problem, of course, reliability aside, is that a 50-litre tank is not going to do a great job of getting us to the end of a 3-hour race. In the 1-hour race, it wasn't a big problem because Ben and I had to do a driver change, and basically the driver change took longer than the refuel that we needed to go through, so not a big deal. But for the 3-hour race, other than the fact we probably will have to change tyres, we still only need to technically do one driver change, and this means that we'd be stopping an additional probably 3 or 4 times over some of our competitors just to add fuel. When you take in the excursion through the pit lane, the time to actually stop, put the fuel in and then get back out on track, there's a huge amount of time that we're throwing away. Long-winded story, just trying to get through what I'm talking about here, but basically this all comes down to, if we drop across to my laptop screen here, this is the back of the car. Couldn't really get a great photo because of where it's sitting at the moment, but this is the existing boot floor, trunk floor, depending whereabouts in the world you're coming from. You can see over here on the right hand side of the photo we've got our radium fuel surge tank. Now, by virtue of having that fuel surge tank in the trunk area, we legally require a full firewall, which you can't see here, that's been temporarily removed. So this allows us to mount any fuel components in that area. So what we're going to do is basically cut out the boot floor here. We obviously don't need to take a spare wheel with us anymore. And then if we jump across to my laptop screen here, this is a really simple 3D model that Brandon has designed up using Fusion 360. So we're having a sheet metal company fold that up. Vinnyfab are going to be welding that up for us, and that's going to be an auxiliary fuel tank. Now that allows us to, I think this comes in at around about another 60 litres. There is a limit off the top of my head, someone will pull me up if I'm wrong. I think we're allowed to be at 110 litres maximum capacity. That includes the surge tank, the lines and everything else, so we obviously want to stay below that. The idea is that this will be where the fuel is filled from, so all of the fuel will flow into this originally. It's then plumbed with large diameter piping back down to the factory fuel tank. So this just adds as an auxiliary fuel tank, and basically once this is emptied down into the main tank, everything's still drawn from the main tank. So again, should get us up above that 100 litre mark, below the maximum, and should give us a better chance of actually being somewhat competitive in the 3-hour race. Again, that is if we can get to the end of a race. Right, now another thing, this is a little bit off topic and it might not appeal to everyone, but it's something that I'm really excited about and something that I wanted to share. So we have just launched a new business completely unrelated to High Performance Academy and also RaceCraft and ETS Fab. It's something that Ben, Nigel and I have been working on for a fair while, and this is the Earnest clothing brand. I'm actually wearing one of the Earnest fabrication aprons right now. Just give you a really brief history of this. Earnest is a New Zealand-based company that was founded a number of years ago. Back when I owned my old workshop, we actually did some sponsorship tuning for the Hedges brother. So it was Joel Hedges and his brother Adam, who's from C's Garage, pretty well-known drifters here in New Zealand, and we tuned both of their cars, and at the time they were pushing, or Joel was just starting the Earnest brand and pushing that pretty hard, and I really liked that brand, particularly through my old workshop. I wanted to actually get some of their hardened overalls, and unfortunately at that point in time Joel had kind of moved on to another project and had lost interest in Earnest, so that sort of sat on the back burner for a fair while. I'm trying to make this long story really short. Ben and I have been involved, as a lot of you may know, with Nigel Petrie from Engineered to Slide for a number of years. We partnered with him very early on in High Performance Academy's career and built a wiring harness and tuned his Toyota Hilux tube frame drift truck. And we've kept up that friendship over time, which has now blossomed into the ETS Fab online fabrication school. At the time that Earnest was first in production, Nigel was an ambassador for that product, and he's still good friends with Joel Hedges. Basically, long and the short of it is Joel offered to sell the company to Nigel. Ben and Nigel and I all went into a partnership on that deal. Couldn't buy the overalls originally for my company because they were all out of stock, so we ended up buying the entire Earnest brand instead. So it's been a fairly long story because this all happened probably mid last year. We finally sort of committed to everything, got some orders into the manufacturers in China. That happened late last year, delayed by Christmas, and then got delayed by COVID-19 as well. So it's taken a lot longer than we had hoped, but it is up and running now. So as I mentioned, I'm wearing the apron here. This is a fabrication apron. These are available in two products. This is a wax-coated cotton. It is also available in a specific material called K-canvas, which is a unique material to Earnest. It is essentially a mix of an aramid fiber, a Kevlar in with the cotton to basically improve strength and reliability. So all of this is designed for sort of high-end fabrication / workshop where it's high quality stuff. A couple of other products that I will just show you. There is also this Tasker jacket. There is a set of matching pants as well. The pants in particular use that K-canvas material, so they have a CE rating, which is sort of a safety rating. It's quite important for reducing the likelihood of getting rash on your legs if you end up coming off a bike. So a lot of people into biking, these are a popular product. And then there is the hardened overall, which is this guy here. So it's all about keeping you safe while you're working and also looking good. Let's be honest, that's important too. So we'll just quickly jump across to my laptop screen. This is the Earnest website. If you do want to find out a little bit more, you can find that at earnestco.com, and our online store reopened yesterday, so we're looking forward to taking your orders. Yesterday was a pretty good day. If you are interested in finding out more about the product though, or you do want to order anything, it obviously ships worldwide, please check out earnestco.com. Right, moving on, a couple of YouTube videos that I just wanted to mention that we've released. So for those who have been hiding under a rock, we'll get on our my laptop screen, we have been releasing regular weekly vlogs. So our latest one was released on Friday. In this particular vlog we talk about an update on our FD RX7. Obviously I've just given you a further update, but you'll find out a little bit more about what's going into that. You'll find out about the blown F1UZFE engine, what went wrong with it, and what we've got planned as a rebuild for it. There's also a couple of little tips and tricks in there for those of you who are working on the UZ range of Toyota engines, particularly with their scissor cam. So check that out. Seems to be that it's being taken pretty popular. It's being quite enjoyed. It's a slightly different take on our usual HPA videos, a little bit more light-hearted, a little bit more behind the scenes, and a little little bit more humour in it. So go and check that out. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. If you do like that video, give us a thumbs up, and if you've got any questions, ask them in the comments. I've been as active as I can trying to get back to everyone who has been asking questions. Also, on a slightly more serious note as well, one of the videos we shot while we were at PRI last year was with Calico about the range of coatings that they have available for pistons as well as all manner of other engine components. And particularly here in New Zealand, we don't have a lot of local suppliers or manufacturers that are able to provide these coatings. So this is one area that I haven't had a huge amount of experience with personally. I've tried a variety of piston coatings, some I've liked, some I haven't, but the DLC coating, the diamond light carbon coating that is so popular on a wide range of high wear items, that's something that's a little bit harder to get done here in New Zealand. So we'll find out in that video all about those coatings, what they're good for, what their limitations are, and what the sort of likely cost and turnaround time is on those particular coatings. If you want to learn more, go and check that out. Lastly for today as well, we are still running our Haltech IC7 dash display giveaway. So this is going to be perfect for those of you who are building a project car. Maybe you want to downsize your analog gauge cluster. Maybe you want to replace a factory gauge cluster. It's exactly what you'd expect. It's a 7-inch full color dash display. It isn't a logger, I will just mention that. Logging can still be done through your ECU though. There are a variety of pre-configured display screens, so you can basically display your data almost any way you like using some basic laptop software. You can further configure what channels will be displayed. You can set up warnings for maximums or minimums. Basically everything again you'd expect. The advantage with the IC7, which is not particularly common in my experience with aftermarket dash units, is the tactile buttons down the side. So this allows you to actually swap between different displays, reset errors, change the brightness, etc. Right from the dash. You don't need to wire up external buttons or any other devices. It's got a full color shift light, warning light across the top as well. Now this will work understandably with all of the Haltech range of ECUs. It communicates via CAN, meaning that the connection that you need to get this up and running is a simple 4 wires, CAN high, CAN low, 12 volt and ground. Really straightforward. Not only will it work with the Haltech range of ECUs though, if you are running a late model ECU, chances are you'll be able to get a lot of the data into that via OBD2, and because it communicates via CAN, it is compatible with the vast range of popular aftermarket ECUs as well. So we've got that dash. We are also coupling that up with our suite of tuning courses, which will get you up and running, learning how to use it, how to tune as well. You can get your name into the draw by following the link that hopefully I haven't thrown him too far under the bus, that Sam's going to be able to drop into the comments. I think there are only a few days left for that giveaway to run, so if you are interested, jump on that pretty quickly. There's a few other tasks that you can complete to give yourself a few more chances to win in there. Zero cost getting involved, zero risk, and also we will ship that anywhere in the world, so it doesn't matter where you're joining us from today, you've got as much chance of winning as anyone else. Alright, that brings us to the end of our pre-show there. Give me a few moments, we'll get started with today's lesson.
If you like that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you're subscribed. We release a new video every week. And if you like free stuff, we've got a great deal for you. Click the link in the description to claim your free spot to our next live lesson.